and thank you for watching Ariston, the district's education affairs show. I'm your host, Teresa Riley. School is back in session and we're well on our way to enjoying another successful year of lessons that are challenging and engaging. We're starting the new school year with new facilities. Westwood High School is the district's 5th high school, and a new district stadium is located on its campus. We're starting the new year with new programs. The Scholars Academy is Ridgeview High School's new magnet program. Windsor Elementary and E.O. Wright Middle are International Baccalaureate candidate schools. Richland Northeast High School is an International Baccalaureate World School. That's just a glimpse at our new offerings. From academics to finance to healthy schools, we have a lot to talk about today. So let's begin with academics and our one-to-one computing initiative. Dr. Deborah Ham is the district's Chief Information Officer. Joining her are Tom Cranmer and Donna Toiber. Dr. Ham, what is one-to-one computing?
One-to-one computing is providing a computer for each student in our school district. We have a 3-year phase-in for that project. Last year we gave computers to students in grades 5, 6, and about a third of our high school classrooms. This school year we're adding grades 4, 7, and another third. And next year all of our students in grades 3 through 12 will have a computer that they can use while they're in school, and at some grades they'll be taking them home.
Well, there's been some concerns about whether or not giving students their own computing devices actually aid the educational process. Please address that with any research or data that you have.
You know, one of the biggest projects looking at the effectiveness of technology in classroom computing is something called Project Red. And it's found consistently if certain prerequisites are in place, it does make a difference in students' learning. But I think part of the thing is just deciding how it is you're really going to roll out one-to-one computing. One thing I like our parents to know is that we've been working at this for a long time. We had our first one-to-one classroom 12 years ago. So we're not just throwing computers out there. We've grown a group of teachers who are proficient at using them effectively to make sure that learning happens in the classroom.
Well, this whole rollout and providing personal computing devices to students sounds very complicated and expensive. Mr. Cranmer, can you address that?
Well, I think it's important to recognize that here in Richland School District 2, we've been long involved in one-to-one computing really for over a decade when we first rolled out a one-to-one computing class at elementary school. Our philosophy really has been to start small, get it right, and then grow it from there. So we've learned a lot along the way. We've seen the technologies change and get better. And with the lowering cost of computing devices for students, we've been able to shift from our old practice of replacing old Windows computers and shifting those funds and those efforts toward putting out personal computing devices for each student. So we learned a lot along the way. The technologies have gotten so much better, and it's been really a good effort for us to be able to do this for the teaching and learning in Richland too.
How does one-to-one computing kind of level the playing field for lower income students, Dr. Ham?
Well, one of the things we know is that technology really is an important learning tool now, whether kids are using it at home to research projects or at school to access information and complete the kinds of assignments that they have in school. So we wanted to make sure that every student had access to that, and up until now, some students have and some students haven't. With this effort, every student will have a computer that they can use for important learning tasks.
Ms. Toiber, I know that you, along with many others, have been very instrumental in ensuring the rollout is going smoothly. Tell us about some of the work occurring behind the scenes.
Well, there's definitely a lot of work occurring behind the scenes. We've got lots of teamwork going on. It's a very collaborative effort. We have worked very hard with professional development. We want our teachers to have the training that they need to successfully implement the technology in their classrooms. So we've had over 400 hours of professional development just this summer, and our ITS in our schools, the instructional technology specialists, had about 2,000 hours that they provided last year. So it's been a lot of that type of thing. We've also got an evaluation team we're working with, and we've put in a lot of hours working on surveys and observation protocols and focus groups to make sure that we're doing things the right way and that we are going to see and improvement in student learning. And last but not least, we've had lots of committees working on paperwork and procedures, and it's just really exciting to finally come down to the point where we are behind the scenes at Westwood. We had about 15 people today working on getting the Chromebooks ready for distribution to the students there. So a lot of paperwork, inventory, but it's really exciting that we're all working together to have that happen.
Talk about teamwork. Our technology team has really done an outstanding job putting all the pieces in place to make Richland Two a leader in technology and model for other schools across the state and country. Just recently, our tech team won a Palmetto Pillar Award from the Greater Columbia Chamber of Commerce. Congratulations, team. Mr. Cranmer, can you tell everyone about the IT Infrastructure Services Award?
Well, each year the Greater Columbia Chamber of Commerce, in partnership with the Information Technology Council, they take nominations to recognize leaders and innovators in the Columbia IT community, to really recognize people that have done some really nice work in innovation in IT. And this year, Richland Two was recognized for our work with virtual desktop infrastructure, or VDI. And that is a technology that's fairly new. We've been watching it here in Richland Two for several years, and what that has done is allowed us to really go to much simpler computing devices for students, and while still being able to retain the ability to deliver familiar Windows applications to users. And we've really been very interested in this so that we can reduce the hands-on support that we have to have for our computers. This is a key component in making our one-to-one computing efforts affordable. So the VDI project is one that was been recognized by the Columbia Chamber of Commerce with the Palmetto Pillar, and we're really proud of that to help us save time, save money, and create a better computing environment for our students.
Is VDI something that's new to school districts?
It really is. It's new to school districts. We're starting to see around the nation there are some larger districts that are beginning to do this, and we are the first school district in South Carolina to really begin in this pioneering area of using VDI. So it is new. It's new not only to public school districts, but to the industry as a whole.
Well, Richland Two was also a finalist for the Public Service Through IT Award for the district's one-to-one computing initiative. Thank you for joining me today. There's more good news to talk about with our finance department coming up next.
You can make a difference. If you see bullying or are being bullied, call the Safe School line. Make the right choice and help put a stop to bullying.
For the 25th consecutive year, the district has received the Association of School Business Officials International and Government Finance Officers Association's Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting Award. In doing so, the Business Services Division met or exceeded the program's high standards for financial reporting and accountability. In the studio are some folks who've helped make this achievement possible. Welcome former Chief Financial Officers Dr. Ray Rogers and Mr. Vaughn Boozer. Also joining us is our current CFO, Mr. Bob Davis. I'm honored really to have this opportunity to sit down and talk with you. You guys are legends in the district. We've heard your names many times about all of the wonderful work that was done, prior to my coming and prior to so many other people coming to the district. Tell us a little bit about your time in the district and in what capacity you served.
Thank you, Ms. Riley, and let me also thank Bob for inviting us to be here today. I accepted the position in August of 1967, and I was here for a total of 23 years. Let me tell you what was going on in the school district. There were a number of challenges whenever I first came. Number one, Windsor Elementary School was opening its doors for the first time for new students. In addition to that, if I remember correctly, the school district was going through a transition from segregated schools to integrated schools. We did that in phases and finally completed that when we opened Spring Valley High School in 1970. In addition to that, we were right on the threshold of a population explosion. Up until that point, School District 2 was known as a country school district, and we were way behind the pay of teachers with our counterparts over in School District 1. But there was a silver lining at that time too, because my predecessor, where I had had a background in principalship and teaching, his background was in business. So I inherited a so-called good set of books. The purchase order system was all in order. The requisitions, all the forms, the procedures were in place. The thing that had happened, he left the school district before he taught people how to use the system. But that was right down my line, teaching. So my first few years were spent in training people to use the system that was already in place. So, and I remained in that position until June of 1990.
Wonderful. This, I was going to ask you, was that intentional that the person left beforehand without without doing any teaching?
No, I think he was accustomed to working with professional people, and he wanted to employ professional bookkeepers in order to keep the books. Money was not available, so our best option was to train the people that were already on staff. And at that time, there was a lot of difference than today. At that time, the major bookkeeping was kept at the school level. The school secretary and the school and some schools were large enough to have a independent bookkeeper, but they kept all of the pupil activity fund receipts and deposits, reconciled bank accounts, and as far as school food service was concerned, the Richland County had a county board of education. They furnished us a school food service supervisor, but the acquisition of food, the training of the school food service, the cafeteria supervisor and all of the cooks were the responsibilities of the county. But it was my responsibility to make sure that the books were kept accurately and correctly and up to date. But they kept the books even to the point of employing personnel, paying personnel, doing the W-2s at the end of the year. So there was a lot of fragmentation going on at that time, but it was a good system to walk into because once we walked in there and started instructing the people on how to use the system, I think we became pretty successful.
Mr. Boozer, when did you join the Richland Two team, and what capacity did you serve?
I started in Richland Two in 1963 and remained with the district for 28 years. My first employment was at E.L. Wright Junior High School at that time. I taught math, physical education, and was assistant principal. I was there 8 years. I left the district for 3 years and then Ray called me and said that they had grown so much that they had need for an assistant. So I accepted that position and stayed with Ray for 9 years as business manager under his direction. After those 9 years, I had an opportunity to move into the directorship of the personnel office. So I ran the personnel office for 5 years. Again, Ray called and said he needed some help. We had just passed a major bond referendum for a building program, and so he needed assistance with the additional duties of building new schools and all the other things that were going on at that time. So I accepted that opportunity. And then when Ray retired in 1990, I assumed his position and was there for 4 years in that capacity, fully retiring in 1994.
Well, 25 years of awards is really quite an accomplishment. Why did we decide to pursue these awards?
Well, in the late 1970s and in the 1980s, early part of the 1980s, there was a complete revolution at in the state concerning the way that schools were funded. There was a passage of the Public Law 208. There was a change in the South Carolina Constitution that allowed school districts to obtain monies in a different way as far as debt service. So all of those so-called new adventures led us into a self-study of our department. We patterned our self-study the same way that using the same structure as the Southern Association Schools and Colleges study teams, and we had after we did a self-study to identify our strengths and weaknesses, we developed some recommendations of where we wanted to go. We called in a visiting team to validate the study, and out of that came the recommendation to pursue broader acceptance of our financial system. So we applied. After a number of years, we getting everything in order, thought we had everything in order. We applied for the first award. The first year we were not successful in obtaining it because we did not have our fixed asset of accounting up to the level that was award winning. So we spent that next year clearing that deficiency up and applied for the second time, and we did receive it at the end of that year.
And we've continued to receive it.
I think another aspect of that would be credibility and the public recognition that their money that they were contributing in taxes to run the district in large amounts, that we were doing it in an effective way that was not only internally reviewed but also externally through these associations that we are here for this award, and also by external auditing firms that would come in and do a thorough audit of all our procedures and transactions. So I think it's a combination of that and public confidence and credibility.
And prior to applying for the award, we applied at the state level, State Department of Education, and we were selected as one of the pilot districts to pilot the new financial record keeping, and that helped us to receive a lot of state exposure and gave us a real desire to go on and get national and international exposure to a good financial system.
Mr. Boozer, how is this recognition beneficial to the district?
Well, I think again, it should give the public, the taxpayers of this district, the confidence to know that we're not the only ones that are telling them that we have an effective system. We also have outside agencies that are very focused on this type of activity that are saying that we have a good system. So I think as stewards of those taxpayers' dollars, I think this is just another way that hopefully the public will accept this as a positive thing for the district.
The district was also recognized for its comprehensive annual financial report for the fiscal year ending 2012. Mr. Davis, what is contained in that report and where can folks find it?
Thank you, Dr. Riley. First off, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report we call the CAFR. It's available on our website. So if you go to our website, you go to departments, you go to business services, look under financial reports, you'll see it out there. In the CAFR is a wealth of information. First off, it opens with a management discussion and analysis, which is a plain language description of the financial position of the district. Secondly, there's the auditor's financial report that states that we have our records are prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles accepted throughout the United States, and that they are fairly presented. Those are the two important documents. Following that is a wealth of information, as Dr. Rogers mentioned, on the various funds that we're required under state statute to report. And that's all the funds, our general fund, our proprietary funds, our special revenue funds. And there's a wealth of statistical information as well to, again, fully report, as Mr. Boozer said, the financial transactions of our district. And again, we welcome the public's input and comment on those documents.
Well, you're doing a fantastic job. Richland Two is the only school district in the state to maintain a AA bond rating from all three bond rating agencies. How does that benefit the district and our taxpayers?
Dr. Riley, it's a significant benefit to our district and to our taxpayers, specifically in the fact that with the building challenges we've had over certainly the 2.5 decades we've been seeking this award, first off, that AA credit rating enables us to go to the financial market and borrow funds at a lower interest rate than we would have to otherwise. That has literally saved our taxpayers millions of dollars over the years. On top of that, because of that AA credit rating, we don't have to go out and get the old bond insurance. We don't have to pay those premiums. And again, that's a significant savings to our taxpayers. That AA credit rating has served us very well.
I want to thank you, gentlemen, for keeping such close ties with Richland Two. Is there anything else that you would like to say, starting with you, Dr. Rogers?
Ms. Riley, I would like to thank you once again for the opportunity to be here, and also thank some of the people that contributed that are not with us. We had excellent board members that gave us an opportunity and to reach out and to go into sometimes those uncomfortable positions and challenge ourselves to reach higher. And they were very patient with us. We had good auditors during the time, and the current financial manager in the school district now, Marshall Neal, played a real great role in our success. So we have numerous people to thank, too many to list at this time, but we thank all of them.
And you, Mr. Boozer?
Just keep the pressure on Bob to keep on going. Keep the streak alive.
Dr. Riley, first off, I'd like to publicly thank Dr. Rogers for blazing the trail, setting the high standards that we've attempted to maintain, Mr. Boozer for continuing those standards, and let me echo Dr. Rogers' comments. We don't do the work. We've had financial staffs in this district that have been absolutely top drawer professionals in the first rank, and the three of us are indebted to those financial professionals for decades who've done such a wonderful job. So that's who we're indebted to. And again, to our school board, we've had fiscally conservative school board since day one. They've worked with us, they've understood with us, and to our community, who has supported us time after time with the bond referendums. The support has been overwhelming, and we are most appreciative of it, and our pledge is to continue to honor their trust.
Well, thank you again. Up next, we're talking healthy schools with lead nurse Dawn McAdams. Back in the 80s, Adrienne Coleman dreamed of being a star. Today, she is one. Adrienne, now known as Monique Coleman of High School Musical fame, is a product of Richland School District 2. Recently, she returned to her elementary school, Forest Lake Elementary, to pay tribute to a teacher who inspired and motivated her.
I was raised here in Columbia, South Carolina, and I attended Forest Lake Elementary School. And when I go around and speak to schools, everyone asks me, how did you decide to be an actress? And I tell them about a teacher that I had when I was in 3rd grade.
That's Monique's story. Richland Two wants to hear yours. Your story doesn't have to be one of fame and fortune, but simply a teachable moment in a classroom, an act of generosity, inspiration, or encouragement. Share your Richland 2 story. Click on the How Do I Share My Story link on the district's website for more information. There you will also find the Richland 2 story, written by a team of Richland 2 employees serving on the district's design team. Tummy aches, headaches, sniffles, and sneezes. It's all in a day's work for Richland 2 lead nurse Dawn McAdams. Welcome, Ms. McAdams.
Thank you.
Kicking off the new school year, is there anything that our parents need to know about immunizations?
First of all, new parents to the district, their students have 30 days from the day of enrollment to provide the school with a certified copy of the South Carolina immunization certificate. There are no major changes this year in the requirements. They've added up through 8th grade, need 4 DTPs, and they've added varicella into the requirement for 12th grade. The big news, though, is next year for the 2013-2014 school year, all of our 7th graders will need another DTP or a Tdap to help protect them from whooping cough. We're seeing around the nation, pertussis, also known as whooping cough, is making a resurgence. So those 7th grade students are going to need a shot for school entry next year. So they have 1 year to get it done. They need to be making those appointments and getting them now.
So are parents receiving all of this information when they register?
When they register, we've been doing news blitz in the newsletters. At the end of last school year, sent notifications home with our 5th graders that were our rising 6th graders, and the middle schools will begin running newsletter articles for the parents so they know when their child enters 7th grade next year what shots they'll need.
Please share some tips on what we can do to keep our school environments as healthy as we possibly can to limit the spread of any kind of disease or illness.
The 2 biggest things to limit the spread of disease and illness are good hand washing, and we teach our little kids right from the beginning, sing their ABCs or sing happy birthday so they know they're cleaning their hands long enough, and cover your cough or sneeze. 3 years ago for H1N1, we really pushed the coughing and sneezing into your elbow. But if you're not feeling well, if your child is not feeling well, you need to stay home from school.
When a child is sick, we can't stress enough how important it is for parents to have that up-to-date emergency contact information.
Yes, that's very important when they change jobs, when their cell phone number changes, when their home numbers change, and their emergency contact numbers change. They need those backup plans for if their child gets sick during the school day and for some reason they can't come, that they have someone else that can get their child, or if for some reason school is released early, they need those backup plans to be able to pick their child up from school.
As you mentioned, back in 2009, we were dealing with the H1N1 virus, also known as swine flu. Our nurses successfully administered the vaccine to students to prevent any outbreaks. Now we're hearing in news reports about cases of H3N2.
Yes.
What is that?
H3N2 is another variant of the swine flu from 2009. Right now they're seeing it in the Midwest, mostly in the agricultural farm type communities, agricultural fairs. So the big encouragement is if you're not feeling well, if you have influenza-like symptoms, cough, sore throat, fever, to stay away from the the fairs, especially the areas where the animals are. If you do visit county fairs, hand washing after you leave those barns is the biggest take-home message. Right now we're not seeing any cases in South Carolina, other places in the U.S. though, so we just kind of want to be on the lookout for anyone that has flu-like symptoms. Go see your doctor, stay home from work, keep your kid home from school.
Are there any precautions we should be taking now in the schools?
Just good hand washing, covering that cough or sneeze. Kids need to be getting adequate rest at home, good nutrition, plenty of fluids, water.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just that if your child's not feeling well, keep them home from school. If you're a teacher or faculty member and you're not feeling well, stay home from work.
Thank you for joining us on Ariston. This Education Affairs program is here to help keep you informed of education issues and news. Your input and feedback are always welcome. You can send email to ariston@richland2.org or call 738-3232. Ariston, the best of the best. Richland 2 is Ariston.